Hello, boys.
Hello.
Hey.
Wait a second. Wait.
Matthew.
I read the papers. The police came to my house. They told me. They said he was never coming back.
What the
they
fuck?
They
You told
said
me
they
that he
found
was.
him.
You told me he
They
ran
said
out.
they found him in a ditch.
Listen.
Wait.
Explain yourself.
Listen.
Are you a fucking ghost?
Explain yourself.
Listen.
Are you a ghost?
Listen. Don't worry about it. How you guys doing?
Hey, where have you been?
Been here all along.
Wow.
Okay.
Oh, that's a
Well,
lesson to live by.
I've been.
Look
in
at that,
here.
guys. We got
What?
Jacob
I've been
back.
in here.
Jacob
all
is
along.
back. Welcome back,
Been in
Jacob.
there, Jacob?
Been in here. all
Nice,
along.
nice.
Welcome back.
Welcome back,
Thank you,
Jacob.
guys.
Oh my goodness, I was
It's been a
scared it was just
while.
going to be Zach and I for a little bit there.
I
You're
know.
back.
I'm back. Hello, everybody.
Here we are.
Yes.
Got plenty to talk about today. Who are we, first of all? Jacob.
I know it's been a while, but I'm Jacob.
I am Zachary.
And I'm Matt. And here we are
Look at
on
that, guys.
the Wolfpack
Podcast. Look
Hello,
at that, everyone.
gentlemen.
Look at that. Look
This
at
is
that.
crazy.
I
Are
can't
you gonna
believe
be
that
like
we're all
a-
back together.
Am I gonna be like a featuring person now? Because it's gonna be like Wolfpack Podcast featuring Jacob. Because my
That depends.
my
You'll
bad
control that.
attendance.
You'll control that, Jacob.
Huh?
You'll
You'll
control that.
Oh, okay.
You're in charge of your grade in this class.
You're in charge of your
Mr.
own future,
Winters.
Jacob.
Damn.
So,
It's nice to
guys,
have you back. It's nice to have you
so
back.
guys, we got links in the description.
Yes, we do.
We got links in the description, and now we have timestamps.
Yes, we do.
We got timestamps in the description, so you can bounce around to any topic that you want. I think we can do it on podcasts, on podcasting apps also.
I sure hope so.
But we got timestamps in the description. Just look down there if there's a certain topic that interests you, and just jump to that topic. Okay.
Yes.
So description, we got Patreon,
Yes.
Twitter, Facebook, Instagram,
Instagram.
all that good stuff down in the description.
Yes.
And also, we opened up a new Patreon tier. We got a $2 tier now where you can send in your own questions of what you want on the podcast.
Yes.
So-
Your own like topic requests.
Give
Yeah.
us the content, please.
Yes. Let us know
yes.
what you want to hear,
Yes.
and we shall try to deliver. Here we are.
Boys,
My goodness.
how was your guys' spring break?
Yes, we've just
Well,
gone on
Well-
spring break, and now we're back. Jacob, did you have much of a spring break? I guess not.
No, I just worked all of it.
You worked.
you
You
worked.
continued to work. You
Jacob,
slaved
I
The
continue
working
to.
man.
last week.
Yes.
I did the opposite. I relaxed. I did a lot of sleeping.
Must be nice.
I went to bed late, woke up late as usual. You know, it's my usual slacker routine. If I wear a robe and go bowling, you could call me the dude. So,
So,
I've been
anyways,
relaxing this spring break.
you're relaxing.
Is it
this
too late for
spring
me
break?
to quit again?
Yes.
You can go, Jacob.
Now you're in.
All
You're
right.
in for this episode at least. You're stuck.
Okay, I'm stuck for this one.
Contractually obligated to this one episode alone.
Yep.
And then you're free to go. You're a free agent.
Okay.
So, Matthew, you were slacking this weekend?
Sure. I mean, I enjoyed my spring break.
Yeah.
I saw the family, got to go home, looked into different things regarding the podcast. Some,
Yep. We
some,
got
some-
mics.
some microphone stuff.
Mike's coming, maybe.
We don't have new mics at the moment.
Yeah.
Same old
Same
old
old
shoe.
library mics.
But maybe in the near future, you'll be hearing us on some crisp new microphones.
I hope so.
I sure hope so.
And my spring break,
How was it?
it was okay.
Just okay.
Yep. Just hung out, saw the family, like
Yep.
you guys, and
Like you, guy.
like you
Like
you
you
guy. we got one guy with spring break here.
It's pretty cozy.
Yeah.
Had a good time.
But over spring break
Mm.
and your work week, did we watch anything new?
We actually watched quite a few things new. First of all,
Mhm.
before we get to the big thing that we all
Yeah.
watched, or
Yep.
that the majority of us touched on, what have you guys checked out lately over this last week or so? I have a couple things.
Well, I rewatched Key and Peele just because I'm very excited for Us. And
Yes.
I wanted to see some more of Jordan Peele because I love that man.
Very
Mhm.
nice.
It was very cool to rewatch it just to see like how much that show really delves into like filmmaking and movie cliches and just
Mhm.
shows like their film knowledge. So it's kind of sort of like cool to see Jordan Peele like
Showing his slow rise
Exactly.
to the director's chair that he was
Exactly.
reaching for. Mhm.
it's just really cool because every sketch that they do has so many like really well done filmmaking techniques. That's
Mhm.
just kind of unnecessary for the comedic stuff that happens, but it was really cool to see like that talent there early on.
Nice.
Very nice.
So Key and Peele, everyone, go check it out.
Yeah.
Go check it
I
out.
haven't seen that in a few years now.
It
I haven't
holds up
checked it
really
out.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's Keegan Michael Key up to? Is he doing
I
anything
asked the
now?
same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he
I asked
he
the same
flew in at
thing.
the Oscars.
Oh
like
yeah,
Mary
he flew in
Poppins.
as Mary Poppins. That's it.
I think he does like commercials.
Since 2014. Oh no, he did Keanu.
I think he has like small roles in movies, but they're
Okay.
like straight to Netflix movies.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't
sometimes.
seen him lately. But I mean,
You
still
would
love
think
him.
Jordan Peele would put him in something.
No,
No.
he's like
He's dead to
you
him.
chose.
He's
the
like,
wrong
nah,
side, buddy.
nah.
You're not up to
No.
snuff.
You didn't.
I'm
believe
working
in
with
me.
Lupita Nyong'o now.
I'm winning Oscars now. I'm working with Spike Lee. Okay.
Fuck you, dude.
I got
Get
money
outta
in the
here.
bank, Keegan. Get yourself a wig.
Get you a gold statue and then I'll
Damn,
talk.
Damn.
Anyway, what other TV series have we been watching this week, gentlemen, other than Key and Peele?
I and you have been
Yes.
watching It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
We both checked
and
it out
it
for the
is
first time.
damn fucking good. I
It's
know
so
I'm
good.
very late to it, but it's damn fucking good.
Is it over now or is it still going?
No.
It's still going,
It's
and
still
it's signed
going.
up for like plenty more seasons too. It's super
Gotcha.
successful.
I think
one of
they
the longest
signed
running
up-
shows.
I think they signed up for like 20 more seasons, but like
Don't-
It
they
sounds
Danny
like-
have-
it sounds
DeVito
like
is
an
gonna
imaginary
die
number.
okay,
before
okay,
it.
but Danny DeVito's like
Yeah, that's the point.
okay.
Yeah.
So he's gonna die before it ends. So they're very committed to it.
Danny DeVito saw the contract and like math was going off in his head. He was like, "Wait a second," and he signed. He's like, "Yeah, screw it.
He's like,
Whatever.
fuck
I'll
it.
probably only do like 40s.
I'll do it until I'm dead."
Yeah, but it's a damn good show.
And Danny DeVito is a star.
He's
What
a
a star.
fucking star in the
Love
show.
him. Ooh, speaking of Danny DeVito, I watched a movie over spring break. I watched Twins. I returned to it. You guys like the movie Twins?
I have never
I
seen
like the concept. It seems very like let's make a blockbuster movie.
Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito playing twins. Quite the concept. It's a great concept.
it. And then
only
they were
made-
gonna make triplets with Eddie Murphy as the triplet,
Yeah.
but that didn't work out.
Well, you see, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito went together for 2 movies. One was a hit and one was a miss. You had Twins, which
What was
yes,
the other
it
one?
was a great endearing film, and then you had Junior.
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 Which one was?
Why'd you get made?
What was Junior?
Junior's the
was
one
it? Was it they were pregnant or something?
Arnold Schwarzenegger gets pregnant,
Yeah.
and Danny DeVito. I don't
If
know.
you
like,
if
rubs.
you don't want to
cream
watch
on
the
his belly.
movie, but you want to hear stuff about that movie because it's ridiculous, I would recommend checking out How Did This Get Made.
Yeah.
It's another podcast. They delve into
Holy
like,
shit! I haven't heard that name in a
It
while.
was like the guy
Yeah.
from The League did it.
Yeah, Paul Scheer, Jason Mantzoukas.
Yep.
They do it. They're very funny. I would check that out.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Twins. It was cozy, and it made me think, why can't movies like this get made these days?
They do.
But
Which
I feel
ones?
like they don't. Like, I feel like something that actually has like the heart and like the genuine comedy and kind of just overall quality of a Twins.
But it's still a bullshit movie.
it's not going. Yeah, like it's silly and it's goofy or whatever. But there's some heart to it. I sit there and
Is
I
there,
smile.
though?
I smiled when I watched Twins. I actually kind of I kind of had a little tear coming out at the end.
You cried the twins.
I cried during Twins. But I feel like movies like that don't get made nowadays. I feel like you get movies like Sisters with like Amy.
That's
or
what-
who was that?
Yeah. I feel like movies
Reese
now
Witherspoon.
movies nowadays don't do like the bullshit concept, but they go like all the way with it.
I mean, Sorry to Bother You got made.
Yeah, but that's like
That's like going for a film. Like,
that's
I feel
going
like,
for a film.
like
I'm talking.
Twins is a movie. It's
Yeah.
still a movie. Like it's just like they're on the run and there's money that they have to deliver and there's like a killer on the way. There's like I don't know like there's
a
like
difference.
serious stuff that's happening but they just don't care about it. It's very
Yeah.
light.
I
don't
don't
know.
want more
I feel
movies like
that
Looney
don't
Tunes
really-
back in action. Basically.
Yes,
Yeah.
I want more movies like that. I
back
want more
Looney Tunes.
movies like Looney Tunes back in action. Movies are too serious now. Jesus fucking Christ. Oh man.
Serious movies.
Like, I think the closest one that I've seen lately was like Central Intelligence, and that was a fucking.
I thought Keanu was really good with Jordan Peele and Keegan Michael
I haven't
Key.
watched
Keegan
that.
back-
Maybe it might be up my
back
alley.
at it.
But it's actually it's a like a silly concept
No, I
Mhm.
know.
too, and they just take it to the extreme. So.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
I want movies like that.
Mhm.
So I should have seen Keanu, and supported that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but fellas, I think we all watched one thing this break. I think.
All of the levity will now be sucked out of the
Yeah.
room.
Now we're
because
going fucking
We
serious.
got some
right
serious
now.
stuff that we watched over the
Yep.
break.
So we all watched Leaving Neverland.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
the 2-part, 4-hour-long documentary on Michael Jackson and the allegations surrounding him with child abuse.
Yeah.
Well, it's more of like a resurfacing of the allegations.
Yes.
It wasn't
Yeah.
like it wasn't like we were all kind of like
Clueless and then
clueless.
No,
just
but
happened.
yeah.
It's
Leaving
just
Neverland-
been resurfaced and brought to the light again.
It presents 2 new testimonies
Right.
from
Kinda.
Wade Robson and James Safechuck.
Redone testimonies.
I don't know. It's tough. It's a hard line to toe because these guys are very serious about what they're saying in their documentary, and you have Oprah Winfrey hosting the after show with hundreds of abuse victims there in the audience, and it's very serious and it's very supportive. And it's hard to know what side you want to be on because you have Michael Jackson, who's this great positive figure, and then you have these guys who claim that he is the complete opposite behind closed doors. So
Yeah.
it was a very serious documentary to watch, and one that really, I know it stuck with me quite a bit. I was thinking about it the entire break.
No, yeah, same here.
Yeah, it's a haunting documentary.
Same here. I don't know how to feel about it.
I think
I don't know.
It's very
here's the thing about it. I think there's room for there to be a gray area just because it's all hearsay, for
Yes.
one. So there's no defined line. You can be on both, but with the stories presented and everything that we have that's tangible in front of us, all the information,
Yeah.
I think you have to be somewhere in the gray. You know?
Yeah, we don't have a definitive answer at the moment, and the only new information that we have gotten recently with this documentary is new testimony. So it's nothing factual necessarily that we can rely on as a definitive answer to this question that we've been having since the 90s. So I want to go around just a little bit. I don't know, Jacob, you've seen parts, you didn't watch the whole thing.
Right.
Zach watched the entire thing. I
Yep.
want to know your initial reactions following right after you watched the documentary, prior to maybe other research you might have done. Just raw reactions. Because I know my opinion has kind of altered and changed since watching the documentary alone and then kind of getting other perspectives.
Well, I always thought that Michael Jackson was guilty.
Yes.
But the documentary striked me as kind of like the tiniest bit disingenuous. Not to say that that nothing happened to them. I just think that the timing and a lot of circumstances are coming around their retelling of what happened back then was suspicious to me. But I think with everything that was going on, I wasn't surprised that the allegations they made to the extreme that they were, because I mean, with all the evidence that we have in front of us there, it's kind of hard to believe that nothing happened.
Yeah.
But I just don't know if the people, the 2 victims that are highlighted in the documentary, are doing it for all the right reasons.
Yeah.
That's what struck me from watching it.
Yeah, I know when I think they were asked this question, why they're talking now and that kind of stuff, and I guess their main answer was just to bring justice to the situation, and because they had regrets of not talking up and
Right.
defending the other boys, who I
Yeah.
guess were also making accusations back when it was more pertinent.
And my rebuttal and everybody's rebuttal to that is that they had their chance in court.
Mm-hmm.
Wade was the star defense witness for
Yeah, he was the
making
opening.
sure. Yeah, he was the opening defense witness for
Michael
making sure
Jackson's
Michael
case.
Jackson and he just denied everything.
Yeah.
And he wasn't still the child that the abuse happened to him. He was an adult, and he had the chance to speak about what happened then, and not be penalized for it. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
he chose to defend Michael Jackson that time, so it's just what happened, and it's just
That's what he said under oath
right.
to a court.
And then he also tried to come back on his word again and sue the Jackson estate, but the judge ruled that it doesn't really affect the Jackson estate. It's more to Michael Jackson as a person. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. So
Yeah.
in 2013, Wade came back with basically the opposite
right.
of what he had testified back when he was defending Michael. And
And what was the age difference?
the age difference between...
Yeah. When he testified for Michael, what was
Okay, so I want to say when the trial first came up, the first trial was in the early 90s, right? No.
I think it was like 2000.
It was the early 2000s.
Yeah,
Were there multiple
because Michael Jackson,
cases
like,
though?
he was like all white from the like.
Well,
the
Michael Jackson
documentary.
had accusations that got settled in court before then.
Okay.
But
so
like,
that's I guess what I'm
the
thinking.
publicity was like the trial that he testified in was in the early 2000s
Okay.
when Wade was in his early 20s.
And Macaulay Culkin also
Yeah, that's right.
testified.
So yeah, both of these like these victims were now in like their early 20s.
Right.
Yeah,
When
I just
Oh.
didn't know if they were like still kids.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
I don't remember
when
it
allegations
exactly.
were first coming up, they were still kids.
Yeah.
Because you have
And-
different interview footage of like Wade denying it back then when he was
Right.
just a young boy, when he was still being abused, I guess,
Mhm.
or shortly after.
But then he was in his early 20s when he testified, denying everything, which in a victim's mindset, obviously it's something that you're not going to want to do, but it's hard for just the general public to believe him now just because he's going back on that word back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a tough situation for him to navigate if he is telling the truth now.
Yeah.
That it's just establishing that credibility, and it's just hard to do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So Wade Robson's kind of gone back and forth over the years with defending Michael, then in 2013 coming out and saying the exact opposite, and now here he is. I guess he had also tried to like publish a book at one point. I don't know if it was Wade or James, but one of them was trying to publish a book at one point about like the situation, and it didn't really work out. So now they're coming through in this documentary trying to get their story across,
Yeah.
and people have their doubts.
Yeah.
A lot of people have their doubts.
Yeah.
And I think it's warranted to have those doubts.
Yeah.
Now they claim that they weren't compensated for the documentary from HBO, but you have to kind of think that in some way they are and they're gonna be.
Well, that's the legal side behind like filmmaking. Like you have to be compensated because it's work.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So there's no way that they're not
And-
getting compensated in some reason for doing what they're doing.
And also,
Yeah.
if they weren't compensated like right out the gate with like a documentary, like maybe they had something that was like, nope, like I don't want to be compensated for this. They're going to be compensated at the end because now they're going to get like film deals, like book
Right.
deals.
Their
all that
names
kind
are
of
back
stuff.
out
Yeah.
with the most controversial
News
story
like going on the news and
of
shit.
the year. You know,
Yeah.
they're gonna get compensation somehow, and I think that it's known that their financial situations weren't great until this documentary came out.
Yeah, I guess that was something also that came out about Wade Robson before, was that he's in debt, or
Right.
that he was previously in debt.
And it's
Yeah.
it's so hard for people to take his message seriously with those circumstances around it. And like I said, I believe that Michael Jackson was guilty. I just don't know if they're doing it for the right reasons right now and coming out and saying everything that happened, especially when they had their chance back then to come out about it.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on that. Zach, did you have like a formulated opinion about everything?
Yeah.
What was your like initial reaction?
The
when you
initial
first
reaction.
watched it.
Yeah.
The documentary.
The initial reaction for me was like a fuck Michael Jackson type of thing, just because I didn't do much research and I didn't know there was like a total other side to this whole thing. So coming out of it, it was like such like an emotional like reaction, just because the way they describe like the molestation and everything is just so like visceral, because you don't really get that in a lot of documentaries. Like you don't get like the full on talking about exactly what he did and stuff. So it was a very like emotional like first reaction. But on like taking some time to really like digest it and like take it all in and researching the other side, it is a little bit fishy, the whole situation. It's just, I don't want to say that they're like, the thing about this whole thing is that like nobody's guilty, but also no one's not guilty. Like it's just like a whole thing of like hearsay. Everything's all like up in the air, and what it'll take for this situation to really be like cut and dry, like there's no more, is to have like evidence against Wade and the other guy.
And that's
Wade
just
and
not going
James.
to come out.
No,
It's the whole
unless-
situation is hearsay because I mean
yeah.
that's why Michael Jackson was acquitted in the first place.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
because there was no hard evidence on him doing any of the things that he was accused of.
And yeah, that's another part that's going against their testimony, is that the FBI supposedly spent 10 years investigating this case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I know that there's other things that could be going against that also, but just that like there was a very clear investigation of Michael Jackson and his estate and everything, trying to figure out if this really is happening or not.
Right.
And it didn't come up
So
in the court.
Yeah.
But-
My opinion's more like in the middle with it all. Like I don't have a cut and dry like they're guilty or they're like Michael's guilty. It's just like a whole thing of like nobody's under I don't know. Like nobody's provable in any way. At least for me.
No.
Just because
And-
like there's no hard evidence.
Right.
And I don't know. I just don't think like anybody's really guilty.
And it's hard to put something out like this when Michael's not there to defend himself.
Yeah.
That's another thing that's just.
But
kind of-
really, what would he say? Like, because he's already went through this. He's like he would just be like, "No, I didn't do it," but people would still like, I don't know. I
right,
feel
but
like
that just
people.
show, like in the eyes of the people who think Michael didn't do it, this is kind of a thing where they feel like they have the opportunity to strike now since he has passed away.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I just don't know what Michael would do. That's my thing. Is like I think I don't know.
Well, Michael has, I mean,
Like he has millions of fans.
he has millions of fans, but also he's rich as fuck. You could get the greatest PR people in the world to
Yeah.
help defend him and squash this whole thing anyways. But I don't know. I think it's important to talk about like if he did do it, which it's hard to deny that nothing
that's-
wrong happened.
That's another thing with this whole thing is like yeah, the other guys are like they're fishy and everything. Like it's a weird situation for them, but also like their situation that they were in wasn't like normal.
No.
It was not normal. I mean, granted, anybody meeting Michael Jackson isn't like normal, but like sleeping with like the little kids for like years on end and stuff,
Right.
it's just not normal. Like I just find it hard that something bad didn't happen right there.
No, that's the thing that you can't deny that it wasn't weird at worst. It was very weird
Oh yeah, it was very odd.
and
And
very
also, like,
very psychologically affecting
damaging.
to the children. You know what I mean?
And a large defense to that on like the Michael side is that they usually chalk it up to his lack of a childhood or just that he wasn't like an unusual person in general. Like he was a very like people saw him
Like, he didn't
in,
have a
like,
normal
such
life.
a positive light,
Yeah.
and he was so childlike. And
Which is fair. It's a fair defense, just
Sure.
because.
But it doesn't make it right. He's still an adult.
No, it doesn't make anything he did right, but it shows where it started, and it gives a message to other people not to put their children through the same thing that Joe Jackson put Michael Jackson through.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that case is also just like it's just a consistency from Michael's side, where it's like he throughout this entire thing has built his image on like I love kids, I'm a peaceful guy, like just promoting the best of like interactions between humans,
Right.
and just like
Yeah.
that if you're comparing consistencies, then that's where like when you compare like the Wade and the James stuff, where there are inconsistencies as far as like saying like defending and then going against. Michael was consistently, no, it didn't happen. I've always been this way, and just completely denied it the entire time with the backing up of no evidence being found on his side.
Right.
So like that is a strong case for him. But when you do look at it with like with an outside perspective, looking in just strictly just at what was happening, like you were saying,
Well,
just
and also
sleeping with kids and all that kind of stuff. It's
sleeping
very
with
odd.
kids, and also the parents being like in the documentary.
The
they talk
absolute
about-
worst parents.
yeah, but
of
they
all time.
they got
It's
their like their rooms moved away like progressively farther and farther from the room, and it's like okay, there's something going on
Right.
with that whole thing.
The parents were in an advantageous position to where Michael could basically grant them anything that they've ever wanted
Mm-hmm.
in exchange for basically just having access to their children. And the
Yeah.
parents decided basically to just take advantage of the opportunity that they had there and let Michael do what he wanted because one, they can get whatever they wanted for themselves, but they also the way that I think they defended it was that it put their kids in a position to succeed by
Yeah.
putting him so close to Michael Jackson and being this biggest superstar the world has ever really known and pushing their talents with him. But it was just a thing where the parents were selfish and they were careless, and to a degree that's unprecedented
Mm-hmm.
unless you've seen Abducted in Plain Sight, which is like the parents were even worse in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
But
An interesting thing that I saw Leaving Neverland paint was that it kind of does give you a little bit more insight into just like the parent testimony and just how they felt the situation went and just how overwhelming a situation it actually was for them to meet this like star and for him to come into their home and to spend time with them and to act like a son or a friend and became a friend, like a dear friend of the family and everything. Just like that you do build a trust with someone who you get to know very well. And just that it is such like there's no comparing this to anything else as far as Michael Jackson and his star power and just like the level of just like it just must have been a dream for them to meet him and to let their kids
As anybody was back then.
to let their kids meet him and everything. Like you do have to also try to look through their perspective because there's a lot of blame to be placed on the parents for being so oblivious.
it's all the blame.
But
You can't blame the kids for...
but it's just such a unique situation that you do have to try to look through their perspective also and just see that like this was very hard.
I don't
Very hard
have
for
any sympathy for them though. If this is true, I don't have
No,
any.
I think even if
for me,
it's
at
not
least.
true, they're still very negligent.
No, yeah,
Yeah,
because
no,
they
no.
let their
You know what I
kids
mean?
go with him and everything.
Yeah. It's more just like it's just kind of understanding their flaw in parenting rather than forgiving
It's
it. I just think that there's a side where it's like this was such a special situation that it's like
Well,
that their
Here's the
their
thing,
decision
though.
making was blinded.
As a parent, you got to be like aware of that though.
Sure.
Yeah,
Like you
'cause
got
they
to
would
be
not-
aware of like what's best for your kids, and obviously like going with them is like great and everything, but like I don't know, you just can't let your kids sleep with another man no matter what.
right. And it's... If they would have been in the situation with literally any normal person ever, they never would have let it happen.
No. And that also speaks to how strong of a character Michael Jackson portrayed to the public.
Yeah.
And how much these super fans, which Wade Robson was, he moved from Australia to America because he was a fan of this guy who he had no idea, like he didn't know him.
Well, also he loved him.
Yeah, he fell
at
in
that
love
point.
with him. And the mom loved him. Everyone loves him.
Except for the dad.
Well, he was
basically gone.
he was an odd fella.
But
Yeah.
and then he
There was all
later
kinds of
killed
stuff.
himself because of
Yeah.
everything that came out.
Well, yeah, but he also
But-
killed himself because of other things.
It was also like the mom, which this is also on her. She
Mm-hmm.
split up the family.
Yeah.
Wade
Yeah.
Robson's mom just like took the son and the daughter or something and left for America and ditched her oldest son and,
And
the
then-
father and split it, like just split everyone up.
And then the older son eventually came,
Yeah.
and that's when it like hit him, and that's when he killed himself. It wasn't so much like the Michael Jackson thing. It was more like the fact that his family was split up, and he had bipolar disorder also, I think. So he had a lot of things that were like going on with him that I don't know. It just that was one of the sadder stories for me, like seeing that whole thing like play out and everything, because that's
Sure.
like
It's
provable.
tragic.
Like it's like actually like 100% like provable.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That was pretty sad to me. Just seeing how that father took it and everything was just like, oh shit. Like, sorry about that, fellas. The camera cut out. So
Yes. We had to
yeah.
make a slight cut.
Yep.
But
So you're saying
just okay. So the documentary also, upon first viewing for me, my first impression was so strongly against Michael.
same
Because
here.
the documentary does such a great job at presenting that one side and defending these two testimonies very strongly.
Yep.
So hearing from the perspective of the parents and of Wade and of James, hearing about how like this grooming process, if it was a grooming process, how strong he was and just how convincing it was to really act like a son or a friend just to get to these boys. And I don't know, it was very creepy to take that away from the documentary.
And it was pretty like scarring in the way that like I viewed like 80s stuff, because I tried putting on ET afterwards, and I don't know, just like that whole aesthetic, I was just like, I can't really watch this right now.
Yeah.
Like just like that whole like 80s like time period, I'm like, oh my god, like because I imagine like him being around there and like this whole story going down and everything. That's before I researched other things about the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Yeah, seeing anything around that time period was after that documentary was just like I can't really watch this right now.
Yeah. Just leaving that documentary, I just felt so sad.
Me too.
And like I loved Michael Jackson too. And like I still want to love Michael Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
And I love his music, and I was just listening to it a couple weeks ago before I knew about this new testimony stuff.
Yeah, it's just comes to the like conversation that comes up all the time as to separating the art from the artist,
Yeah.
which it's up to you. I mean, I think
Yeah.
it's definitely you definitely can.
Yeah.
But in certain cases, the art reflects who the artist was. Like say like
Well,
YNW Melly. Like obviously his art was him, and
yeah.
he's guilty of what he talked about in his art, basically. But like in
Yeah.
Michael Jackson's case, it's like it's something that you can separate if you want to let yourself. But if it's more of a thing within yourself that you want to avoid giving him that attention again, then that's something that you make your own choice with.
Yeah. I think the thing about the art, at least for me, I don't know if I'll be able to like separate the art from the artist in this case, just because the art is partially responsible for this whole thing happening if it did happen. Just because of like his image and like his whole like message and everything is why these kids loved him so much and why it enabled for this situation to happen. Because these kids and all the kid, like any other kid that like it could have happened to, it wouldn't have happened if the art was like so powerful and everything. So it's kind of a weird situation I've never found an artist to be in, where the art kind of enabled them to be this like molester, if he is a molester.
Well, it's not true.
At least for me.
Well, I think what really makes it hard is that I want to believe both James and Wade with their testimony, because I feel like that's just the most understandable thing for me to do until other evidence is presented to discount what I just heard from this documentary, because I want to take it all as fact and I want to believe everything that they say and that they just couldn't get the words out until now and all of that. The sad thing is just with the separation of art from the artist is all of the songs are just so contradictory to the behavior that they painted in the documentary. So it's so hard for me to go back and listen to so many loving and peaceful and just positive songs about loving people and caring for them. And then to also try to believe that these guys were so terribly like abused by this guy. Obviously not terribly in the sense that they were so uncomfortable with it, because as they stated in the doc, like they wanted it in different ways because of the way the abuse works and the grooming process. But just that he would have done something so inappropriate to kids who his image just shows so much love for, and he paints in all of the music and everything. That's part of what makes it so hard for me, I think.
Right. I think a big thing is just people in powerful positions have the opportunity to do a lot of bad, and they have the opportunity to do a lot of good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Harvey Weinstein is just an example of this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just somebody who had a lot of power in that industry that a lot of people looked up to, and he used his position to do everything that he did. And I think when you're in a position of power like that, it's kind of tough to balance like the power that you have just in ways that, because you know that you can get away with it, you know that like you can do what you want, nobody's going to say anything. It's just, it comes to the thing where it's like, if people have that kind of power, you don't know what they're going to do. And Michael Jackson was the biggest star in pretty much the history of man, in a way.
No, yeah. He's the biggest.
Yeah. There's just nobody who's ever eclipsed
no one ever.
his like level of fame.
Oh, yeah.
So he had the opportunity to do basically whatever he wanted, and nobody was going to tell him any different. And they tried, but they couldn't prove it. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's tough.
Well, that's another thing about like proving that he didn't do it, is like I'm sure Michael Jackson could like pull strings to get it like covered up.
Here's the thing, though. I don't think if you're in that kind of situation, it's tough to be able. I feel like when it's talking about kids, I don't think it's easy for you to pay people off to.
Well, I mean,
because if that's
we
true,
just
the whole
saw that with
investigation didn't
Hollywood,
happen.
though. Like Hollywood went through that whole thing. I mean, granted, it's like much older kids, but it's still kids and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think they had him, but since the situation is all hearsay, they needed Wade, like people like Wade, to come out and say that it happened, and they didn't. So
yeah,
they had their chance to serve justice, and they didn't take it, and now they feel bad about it, and now they want to come back and say that, which it's hard to take for the people who love Michael and were so happy that he got exonerated, and they had this struggle already that they don't want to have it again. You know what I mean? Because he was proved innocent in a court of law, but it's not really proved innocent.
yeah.
It was just the case that was presented that they weren't able to prove. It's not. That's any court case though. Like, it's just. It's tough. It's tough for everybody to digest and understand.
Well, it's such a hard case because it's such hearsay, and like you're saying, it's just so weird.
I think
Such
it's
a weird
important
case.
to talk about why Michael may have done it though, because he grew up out of fame. Like from the day he was like 5 years old, he was leading the Jackson 5 pretty much.
Yeah,
And it's documented and known that Joe Jackson was probably like the hardest father you could ever have in whipping them. And like there's a giant speculation that's been said by one of Michael Jackson's doctors that he was chemically castrated as a child
yeah,
to preserve his voice and everything like that. So that, I mean, that even brings into question, like, could he have that sexual desire to do the stuff that he did? That calls that into question. And there's also speculation that, like, for his children, he didn't have sex with the mother who birthed them. That's a thing. She said she never.
She's a surrogate mother, right?
Right, but like, you don't like. It's hard to take all those facts in and be like, you know, did he do that? Especially for super fans. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because of his whole persona about peace and everything, but then also just taking the facts of his upbringing, like it's just hard to like digest.
Yeah.
And especially because of his lost childhood, since he was in fame the whole time, it like you can understand that defense that he wanted a childhood, so he gave it to other kids.
Sure.
And it's just so like there's so like powerful reasons why he may have done that, but there's stuff that you can't deny. Can't deny that it's weird that he spent all those nights with his children. You can't deny the fact that he had alarms going off near the bedroom and everything like that. If there was footsteps near his bedroom, the alarms would go off. There's so many things that you just can't deny.
Yeah.
Whether it's to the extremes that Wade and them said it was, we will never know. But since there's undeniable factors in that, you just have to chalk it up to Michael was guilty in some way, I think. But
whether it's of the extreme,
whether if it's the extreme or just psychologically damning children and tearing families apart, basically, which is at the very least is what he done. Was tear families apart and kind of stuff like that. But at the extremes, which you can take as a grain of salt if you want, but you know that there was something fishy going on. I mean, he had an amusement park in his backyard. You know? It's tough.
That's kind of where I'm at with this whole thing now. Is like, even I don't know if I believe the extremes, and I don't want to say that just because it's like it's hard because I don't want to like disprove like victims and everything. Like I think that's really shitty, but I don't. If it's not like I don't want to disprove like the victims and everything, but if it's not to the extremes, at least he did tear them away. That's kind of how I am right now.
And I think the victim, I think it's important not to shame victims and
I agree.
Just come into the mindset that they're wrong. But I mean, like the whole Jussie Smollett thing too is just troubling. It's just hard to.
It's a case by case though.
It is case by case, but that's why I think you just have to look at it objectively, and you can't go on one side. You have to look at it objectively and understand what the victims went through and listen to them, but also you still have to have that objective mindset to get to the bottom of what actually happened.
Because you don't want to go into the guilty before innocent mindset.
And I think something did happen to these guys, definitely, and it's hard to say nothing did. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But you can still say that their motivations for coming out and talking about it are still wrong. I think that's fair to say. It's fair to say that you believe them, but it's also fair to say that you don't like their motivations of why they're speaking about it.
I don't think it's not definitive that their reasons are wrong for coming out or anything.
It's not definitive, but it's
it's possible because of other situations like the debt and other things like that. But I wouldn't say that they're eventual now like coming out and telling of their side of the story is innately like evil or like financially driven completely.
No, I think it's a very
to get
strong
about that.
I think it's very strong reasoning when they said that they had children of their own.
Yeah.
And they saw them, like they basically saw themselves at that age through their children. I think that's very good reasoning, but at the same time, it's just like they had their chance, you know?
Yeah.
That's
But I don't want to shut off victims from coming out.
And it's like it's just a thing where you have to look at it through all ways, and they have to understand the backlash, I think.
Yeah.
You know, and I think they do, and I think they were ready for it. That's why they went through with everything, and it's just important to like digest.
No, yeah, and also we need to. I don't know. We need to just not be so. I don't know. It's hard because this whole situation is very like you get such strong reactions with this whole thing. And we can't be so reactionary, I think.
Sure.
And it's hard, though, because that documentary is very, like, moving in that way. So,
yeah, it's definitely, it's a testament to the documentary because the documentary paints a very emotional and a very strong but one-sided light on this huge situation that contains many more details that weren't included in the documentary. Regardless of what side you're on, there's details that weren't discussed or gone over.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to look at every situation objectively.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's why it was important that we did like do some research and look into other points of views after, because I know my initial reaction coming out of that and even like days following that, letting it cook inside me, I was so upset about Michael Jackson and I was so like angry and hateful towards him. Because I believed every word that the victim said, and I don't there's no reason not to at this point. I don't feel like, because I mean like there's doubtful.
I don't
things,
think there's reasons not to believe them.
Yeah,
I just think you can just
I understand that there's reason that like their testimony can be questionable, but just
it's more of a timing thing.
Yeah, just the way it was presented in the documentary was very effective, and it really worked to kind of change my perspective, because I mean I was curious and I wasn't sure before the documentary, but the documentary really like solidified that idea in my head, and it wasn't until I was able to see some other research after I had digested that information to kind of level out a little bit and see the other side and see that it really is just a confusing situation. Yeah, but
I don't think there ever will be a situation like this ever again. Just in the age that we live in, it's hard to think like after this something like that could happen to where it's as extreme like this. I'm not saying that abuse like that will never happen again. I just think this kind of reaction is just so enlightening into that kind of situation.
Like the documentary and like the publicity from it will ever happen again, or are you talking about like the actual situation that they were in?
I mean more like...
You mean like as big of a scandal?
As big of a scandal, yes. I think in our age... I also believe... Because if you guys have watched Abducted in Plain Sight, I know you guys haven't, their situation in there was basically... it was this like Catholic family in the middle of the Midwest in like the 60s. Mm-hmm. And they had a family friend who came in and abducted and... sexually molested their daughter over and over again and kidnapped her once and tried to married her in Mexico, and then brought her back. And the family still let that man hang out like with the daughter. And he told the parents that it was part of his therapy was to sleep with the daughter alone at night, and the parents let him. Now, there's so much more than just that happened in there, but it's a thing where people didn't know, they weren't aware of pedophilia. They weren't aware of predators like that back then in that age. That was their defense, which it's still bullshit. There's still so many red flags for their situation.
Yeah.
But I just mean in the age as we've grown, there's so much exposure on so many different things that have been able to get past, like, without people getting in trouble for. And I think in the age that we're in, it's hard for there to be situations like Michael Jackson again, just because of the access to information and the access to being able to expose something like that so easily.
Yeah.
And being believed too. I think with social media and everything, it's going to be tough for something like that to happen again.
Sure, I can agree with that.
I think
yeah, we're definitely in a time,
but it's not like a thing where situations like that can't happen.
No, I just think there's more of a maturity or more of an awareness instilled in people after seeing situations like this come out, that going forward, hopefully, society will take in and be more aware of putting them and their children in situations like that.
Yeah, we're definitely in a time where the celebrity culture, especially, and just people's lives are very clearly documented and out in the open.
Right.
And not a whole lot of secrets can be kept, especially in the public eye.
Right. That's
so
more of what
I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Where any A-list celebrity or someone not even of the scale of Michael Jackson is like out there on social media, and it's hard to keep a secret like what Michael Jackson allegedly was keeping. Could happen.
I just think culturally there's more awareness about situations like that and not putting yourself in situations like that, just because of how obsessed with like crime documentaries and everything are. Like, people just are more wary of that kind of stuff as a society in this day and age, rather than back then in the 60s with Abducted in Plain Sight and back in the 90s with Michael Jackson. Like, it's just...
And it was like a very interesting kind of like perfect storm of events with like how big and how crazy and how controversial the Michael Jackson thing was, because it's such like the most loved, most popular guy getting accused with like one of the worst crimes you could think of.
Right.
Yeah. And then just having such differing sides.
Kind of like a question that like my mom and dad asked me this after we watched it. They were like, so who's worse, Michael Jackson or R. Kelly?
I think it's not a situation where they're worse. I think they're both. So if it's true, they're equally evil to me.
Yeah.
I think they're equally evil to me. I don't think it's a situation where like two wrongs make a right.
That's not...
But that's what I mean.
The question, though. It's just more of a thing where it's like, it's crazy that...
But I just don't want to say one's better than the other.
No. And it's just more of a thing where it's just crazy that we live in a society that, like, there's two extremes like that at the same time that are coming out.
Yeah.
And it's just, like, that we're able just to point and be like, hey, this guy did kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
And, like, it's just weird that we're able to live in a time like that where all this is coming to light rather than getting it swept under the rug, which probably happened for
a long time.
And I had also mentioned this to Zach just over break when we were discussing this in little bits and pieces and everything, but it does also it kind of points towards like how powerful Michael Jackson's image was, for how he was able to keep so many followers and have things swept under the rug, whereas you have an R. Kelly here who has a much less positive image in the public eye
now.
But even like for years now, like it's the thing of like Michael Jackson had a legacy. R. Kelly has now been like a punchline for jokes, and he's been known as like this odd guy who's kind of abusive. And
yeah, but he still got away with it, you know?
Yeah.
10 years
I'm just
ago.
saying, like, at least like now, like when you compare Michael Jackson coming out on interviews or making public statements, and then you compare that to like R. Kelly's recent interview, both could be said that they both used a victim card. The way Michael Jackson was describing his experience, like going to jail and all of that kind of stuff, if he is truly a predator, that's very much a victim card. Him complaining about the way he was treated, the same way R. Kelly's like,
But that's what
side
all criminals. I mean, that's what everybody in any
everyone's
situation like that will
do
do is
that.
play the victim card because they don't want to be seen in the light that they're being painted.
Sure.
So they want to pull. That
I'm just
card.
saying, a lot more people.
Not that it's right. It's just like that's just.
It's
what
just
happened.
it's a self-defense mechanism.
I'm
for
speaking
people
to the
being
way
accused of
people
stuff.
reacted to it, though.
Yeah.
No one was on R. Kelly's side. a lot of people were still on Michael's
Because
side.
there's so much more evidence in that case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing with the R.
And-
Kelly situation is that there's a lot more evidence.
And,
Sure.
and it's also adults, I think, is another thing where credibility from the. Also, that was just a documentary that came out and people saw and they got mad about it too. So it's just kind of a thing where there's the access to the information about what happened. So that means that so many people had the strong opinions. Back
Yeah.
when Michael Jackson was accused, like 10 or 12 years ago, people didn't have the access to the information. They only saw the headlines that he's in jail for this, tabloids and everything like that. And then he got acquitted. So everybody took that at face value, meaning he wasn't guilty. There's not the gray area with all the information that we're able to have access to today,
Mm-hmm.
like in the R. Kelly situation.
True.
True. Yeah, it's a very messed up situation. I don't know. The whole situation just makes me like sick.
Yeah.
Something about like the whole thing. Whenever it's brought up, it's just like instant. Like I get like sick from the whole thing. It's so.
Mm-hmm.
It's so even like if it's not, even if it's real or if it's not real, whatever. Just the idea of it is just like awful.
I had a very hard time directly following the documentary with how I was feeling, and then looking more into it and gathering some more research. It did like help to kind of level out. It made me more confused as to where I actually did stand, but it was interesting also to like kind of poke holes into this documentary from different accounts.
Yeah.
Just in not even necessarily poking holes at the testimony itself, but just at the way the documentary was filmed and like the omission of facts and stuff
And
like that.
Presented and everything. Yeah.
So
It's just the
I
thing
don't know,
where
it's very hard to find out where we truly should be
Well,
standing
That's what
on the issue.
makes me like. That's what makes me scared in a way. I guess like what part of like the sickening thing for me, like it hasn't like gone away from me, because this whole documentary and this whole situation is just like, man, like I don't know what's like real with this whole thing. Like I don't know what the whole thing, like what the real situation was and everything. And it's just like, man, like you just can't really believe shit anymore.
Yeah.
Like
I think
it's just so hard in this day and age to take like stuff on social media and like all these headlines and stuff like that and just be like it's 100% true. Like I don't know, it's just you don't know what's real and what's not with this whole thing.
honestly, it's important to acknowledge that society's kind of a black and white, tribal natured people,
Yeah,
where like Democrats and Republicans, like there's for some reason
we've always been like that.
there's always two sides to an issue, even
Mhm.
though there's always a gray area, and
Yeah.
people will gravitate towards the one that goes with their side most, and then just be diehard with it. It's a toxic mob mentality that is just instilled in all of human. It's a human thing that we're tribal in nature, so it's a tough thing to be able to look at situations like this and be on one total side. That's why I think it's important for like generations moving forward. If I were able to give any advice, it would just be to look at things objectively rather than the preconceived notions.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's objectivism is probably the most important quality in looking at situations like this.
And that's like the biggest takeaway I think from this whole thing is that not everything with the Leaving Neverland documentary should be taken completely as the
Fact.
like end all
Yeah.
be all.
And that's not
only
it.
side.
That's
of
not like
this
we're
case.
dissing the
No,
victims,
no.
or we're not
No.
discrediting their
No, like the testimony can be completely valid, and that is not the entire story.
right.
Like everything that they say does not mean like even if it is all true, which I hope it is. Even so, that's not the entire story, because if you do look at it objectively, like you're saying, trying to take in all of the gray area and all of the different complexities that make this such a controversial debate, is that you end up somewhere in the middle. Like if you look at all the information and all of the different things, you should not be on one side or the other, really, because there is no answer at the moment.
And that's just
like
the
there's
thing
nothing
with-
definitive to go on, like true evidence that can objectively say one is or one isn't.
No, yeah.
And-
That's why, especially now with like social media and stuff, I think it's risen our tribal nature in that.
No, it has.
in that way.
It's a toxic era. It's always been toxic in a way,
But
but
now that
now
we're
there's
so
so much-
connected,
exactly.
it makes it like even more so toxic.
And I think also there was something interesting. My mom kind of gave me her perspective on where she kind of wants to land with Michael Jackson now and how she wants to accept the situation. And I thought it was pretty interesting because I feel like it also kind of it embraces that gray area side a bit. And it's just kind of saying that it's not discounting the testimonies at all. It's saying that, yes, maybe Michael Jackson did like touch boys and he was a abuser of children, but maybe he did also love everyone too. Like maybe he did like it's not so black and white. It's like he's just this abuser and it's like a facade, his entire image and everything, that it was all a grooming process. Maybe it is that like this is who he is, but he's also unusual in that he's attracted to young boys, and that was his preference.
I don't care if that's the case for him.
Well, that's the thing.
I think with that whole thing, like I understand it.
Yeah.
I understand it, but in that case, I have no sympathy.
No, it's no defense.
Like,
it's just
I really don't.
It's just like,
care.
what if this is the reality? Because not a lot of people say that. Like it's either Michael Jackson is evil, he is this pedophile, he did this, that, and there's no defense for him.
Yeah.
Or it's Michael Jackson was an angel and did nothing wrong. What if it is both?
No, it's my opinion
I
is
think
that it is
that's
both.
interesting.
My opinion is that it is both. I think the circumstances he had as a child are what created him to what he did.
Sure.
And it doesn't mean that the crimes he did were warranted or anything like that. It just means that we should be mindful of all the signs, everything, the environment that they're in, to just to look at it and understand why things happened. I think you look at his situation and you can connect the dots all the way to what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't mean that it makes everything he did okay because he didn't know if it was wrong. It just means that you understand why it happened, and in the future you can look for the same things that happened to understand why those people do what they do.
Yeah.
And in that case, you can feel sympathy, but it's really up to you as a person to decide whether to be sympathetic for people in those situations, given what they've done, or not. But there's people out there who are sympathetic to his situation, and if they are, that's who they are as people, and you can't discredit their sympathy.
No, yeah. Like I don't like discredit people that feel that way, but I know for me, if that's like the situation that he's in and that's like the reality and everything, I personally don't have sympathy.
Well, and I also don't think, I didn't mean to make it seem like my mom is like sympathizing with him being a child pedophile or something.
No.
That's not what I was saying that opinion was. I'm saying that it's more just like looking at it, trying to be as realistic as possible with all the information taken in.
Right.
Is maybe it's not one or the other. Maybe there are facts in both camps where it's like maybe he did.
That's usually all stories, though.
Yeah, usually the answer is going to take from both piles. So that's why it's kind of
tough for people to grasp that.
Yeah.
I think it's really tough for a lot of people to understand that there's truth on both sides.
Yeah. Yes. And I think also that's just another way, going back to like the separation of art from the artist, is like maybe then what he was saying is not some lie or facade as far as the peace, love, and caring for kids and all human beings. It's just that there's also the caveat to his character. And it's just that there were flaws, like major flaws to his character.
Yeah. I see what you mean and everything. And I think that's kind of where I land. It's just more like I don't have sympathy for him being loving children that much.
Yeah,
like,
I don't.
At least for me.
I think it's understanding, not sympathy.
Yeah, understanding.
Because that's like, the goal is to find the objective truth.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's not about sympathy. It's about understanding. And acceptance, because that's all we can really do at this point.
Yeah. I know for me, it would make me resent him if that was the case.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like there's no way really to see Michael Jackson the same way after the information we know.
Yeah.
There's no way to just look at Michael Jackson and think nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Another small pause. We had to fix the camera again. But either way, fellas, I don't know. It doesn't really matter where we come down on this topic because we don't have a definitive answer at the moment. We only have the testimony and the information that we've already been given over the past like 20 years or
And
so.
we'll never have the information available to
No.
us. So
Nope.
it's just something that you have to take in and move on with
Yeah.
the lessons that were available from the situation that it's been brought to us.
Yeah, you have to
Yeah.
accept just the information that we're given, and also just accept other people's opinions. I think too,
Mhm.
because there are going to be people who just wholeheartedly believe with everything the documentary says, which is not a wrong opinion because these are
No.
victims regardless. I think because they are. I just think they are like they're victims, and they were surrounded in a room of victims, and they were all sympathizing with each other, just trying to make the situation better. In the after Neverland thing,
I think that's the case with it. It's just don't resent anybody for having a different opinion with the whole thing,
yeah,
because
we just
a
don't know.
lot of online, because we went into like the tribal nature and stuff. A lot of online like comments and everything are like "fuck you" if you think he's guilty, or "fuck you" if you think he's innocent. And I
Yeah.
think we just need to have more respect for other people that have different opinions, and not just like discredit them because they're not on your side.
Sure.
And that goes for that and literally every other
And literally
thing in the
everything.
entire
Yeah.
Yeah.
earth, you know?
Yeah.
But
it's
what-
just like trying to see from their perspective, and that goes for everything regarding like the parents and everything they experience. That goes for everyone. Like it's hard to understand where people are in different situations.
And we'll never reach a point in society that
No.
it's going to be accepting of everything.
No.
No, because
But-
that's just human nature.
It's just important to keep that in mind as
The best you can do is just be accepting yourself.
Right.
Yep.
Accepting of the people around you and stuff.
But that's Leaving Neverland. A
Yeah.
very
Yep.
effective documentary that has stirred up a lot of debate that brings back a lot of information
Yep.
that we've been
Yep.
dealing with for decades now.
Well, and we had another battery die.
Just
So,
another one.
boys, we are running low on battery life. But
That's
at
okay.
the end of each episode, we ask each other, how have you guys been? Jacob?
How are
have
you
been?
doing? Oh, we almost did it. We almost
I've
lined
been
up.
doing pretty good. I've been settling into my job at Universal pretty well.
Yes.
Yep.
Getting accustomed to the theme park life. It's
Mhm.
been going pretty well. Things are going good with Alyssa and all that good stuff. Just doing the best I can. How about you guys?
Good.
Nice.
I'm glad.
I've been good. I've been very good.
Good.
I've been very good. I've been meditating more. I've been getting back into writing and producing. I did that today. So I did a lot more producing today.
Very nice.
Overall, just been pretty happy lately.
Mm-hmm.
Been pretty happy, which is a total contrast to earlier on the podcast. I mean, earlier on in the podcast series.
when we were starting it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but I've been very good lately. So, yeah. What about you, Matt?
Guess what, guys?
What?
I'm gonna make it 3 out of 3. We're
You
all
good?
doing pretty good right now.
We're all
Yeah.
doing pretty good.
It was nice to go back for a week for spring break and just kind of decompress a bit. Not that there was a whole lot of compression before, because I was doing okay before too.
Same here.
But yeah, things are going pretty well. I'm just like really enjoying It's Always Sunny, what we've been
Same
watching.
here.
Jacob, you got to get on it because it's really good.
it's
really
real
good.
fucking good.
It's like it's very like inspiring. Like it's just like a couple guys that are starting this small show. It's kind of edgy, and it's just really funny, and it's just kind of
It's
like,
probably,
in
like,
the
right up
vein
my
of, like,
alley.
in the vein of like what we'd like to do in general,
Right.
just with
Yeah.
art. So it's very cool to kind of discover that and just enjoy it so much right now. Yeah, I don't know. I've just been enjoying TV a little bit more lately.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm in a good place.
I think we're all in a good
everything's
place.
good. So
Well, guys, I
very
think
nice.
that's it.
Yeah.
I think that's it. Guys,
Oh my goodness.
down in the description, we got Instagram, Twitter, Patreon, all that good stuff. Pledge to us on Patreon if you want to. We got
Yes.
tiers. Ask us questions, please. Ask us
Yes.
questions for topics on the show. All the description stuff.
Sure.
Guys,
Yeah. Let us know what you want to hear.
you got anything else to say?
No.
No?
I think we are just about done here.
I want to
Jacob, you
say
okay?
I'm very excited for Billie Eilish's new album next week.
Ooh, me too.
And Khalid's album the week after.
Nice.
Very nice. Jacob,
Um,
will we see you next week for
Will we
the Billie
see you?
Eilish album review?
Jacob, will you
I
be
don't
here?
know. I don't know.
Will you be here next week?
I will
sure
be
hope so.
at Universal a lot. I know that.
Ooh, I have a small little announcement.
Huh.
Happy birthday to me. When you guys are watching this, it's going to be my birthday.
Oh, yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. That's
Oh,
it.
boy.
That's it for me.
Yeah. Well, Jacob, I hope we see you next week so we can talk about Billie Eilish's new album. We've
Yes.
all heard it. Actually,
And-
it probably
and-
won't. Actually, it won't be next year. It actually won't be next week. It'll be the week after.
And
Yes.
maybe a little us discussion.
Oh yeah, we can
Yes.
discuss us next week.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. We'll have
Yep.
some movies and music to talk about next week. Some lighter content.
Yes,
than
more
this
lighter
week.
content.
Please,
than-
please. I'm done with this.
But it was
topic.
necessary.
It was a very necessary
very
topic.
necessary to talk
Important
about.
Chat about.
No, I agree.
But now we've covered it, and it's time for brighter days, gentlemen.
Brighter days are upon us.
Woo!
Bye bye, guys.
Thanks.
Woo!
See ya.